The topic of this video is academic writing conventions, specifically the way the academic discourse is formal. First, and you know this, and I think that this is emphasized to you as students so much that it's comfortable, but you're citing sources always and forever, even in discussion board postings. That is, you are never referring to work that was not written by you without a corresponding citation. That's a formality, that's your obligation, that's academic responsibility, academic discourse. Also, think about your use of the personal I. Typically, I is considered less formal, but that is changing a little bit in composition studies. Ask mentors in your class and writing mentors for guidelines about the use of I in your field and in your particular type of writing. Be forewarned that not using I when it's necessary is actually kind of clumsy, and the writing can feel very awkward. So it's not just a fix to say never use I and then I'm all set. Instead, you need to learn the rules. Check out this handout on using the personal I. I think that the explanation is spot on, and it's what your go-to can be for whether you're making a decision about whether the I is appropriate. Next, all the writing you do should be well supported and thoughtful. That means nothing is tossed off or slapped together or haphazard. Discussion board postings, daily course assignments, emails, all your writing is being evaluated wherever it exists, not just in formal assignments. I think of this as like the clothes that you wear to class. If you're serious about your career as a student, you're not showing up to class in pajamas. You're dressed. The same is true with your writing. It's always dressed. You're always putting on a formal appearance because you want to be respected and professional. Look at the writing you do everywhere as a chance to improve and develop habits that will pay dividends later. Okay? So don't think of the formality as a hassle or academics being snobby, but instead look at it as a wonderful opportunity to develop your professionalism. And it will pay off later when you have the habits in place in the work world. Lastly, academic writing is purpose-driven. That usually means you're explaining a concept, describing research, or arguing a point. You're not ever writing creatively unless you're in creative writing. Otherwise, opinions are not acceptable. You need assertions rooted in concrete evidence. Don't be cute. Related to being cute, cliches. A cliche is a phrase that's overused and betrays a lack of original thought. I like this link because it acknowledges that we tend to use cliches because we want to sound lively and we're having fun with our work. That's a good impulse, but the language is usually tired and overused and informal. Next, here's a list of words to avoid in formal writing. Academic discourse word choice is pretty specific and formal. So look over this list and ask yourself if some of these so-called no-no words are cropping up in your work. The last two ideas about academic discourse are that the introduction and the conclusion are not obligatory, tacked on, meaningless paragraphs that are just part of what is required to finish the paper. They actually do real work for you. So the introduction is often a review or a synthesis of sources. It's usually dipping your toes in the water of the scholarly conversation, showing context for your main point. You always have a strategy. Your conclusion is not just tacked on either. You don't just sum up. You don't put your ideas in a box, put the bow on, and call it good. Instead, answer this question. If you were going to write 10 or 20 more pages about your topic, what would you say? This is not committing the sin of introducing new topics in your conclusion. That's what you've been taught, right? Tell them what you're going to say it, and then tell them what you just said, and don't say anything new. Now that you're moving past that, that's pretty elementary, primary writing advice. It's now time for your conclusion to mean something. Don't insult your readers by repeating. So here's an example. Explore the so what of your thesis. Quote, I've demonstrated, there's the I, it's okay, that physical therapy 3 days a week for 3 months for patients recovering from a heart transplant is important. Further inquiry will study the economic implications for insurance providers of this recommendation and will also research long-term physiological benefits. Do you see the way that that conclusion gestures outward is an act of scholarship engaging in a larger conversation? You never know. You might be asked by colleagues or an instructor to write more on your topic based on your concluding comments. It's not uncommon for conclusions to become moneymakers in the sense that people become interested in the evidence you've advanced previously about your idea and look to your conclusion as the potential minefield, the place where you could go next.